going on, everybody? Welcome on into this special edition, breaking news edition, emergency podcast edition of PHLY Union Podcast. Of course, I'm your host, JP Zapata, here for today, and we're here for one reason and one reason only. The Philadelphia Union have finally made it official. Cavan Sullivan, I'm sorry. We're gonna make sure we get that right off the bat. Cavan Sullivan is officially a member of the Philadelphia Union. The first team he signs his senior contract here today. This is a deal that will go through 2028, as he will be here until he is 18, as we all know. The other thing that was kind of not really brought up, but we all have heard from all the major outlets, the Tommy Bogues, the Fabrizio Romanos of the world, that he will be playing for Manchester City at the age of 18 when that time comes. But for right now, we get to celebrate this monumental moment to talk about Cavan Sullivan signing here with the Philadelphia Union. And listen, I know there's a lot of people here tuning in who watch the Union quite often, don't know what's going on a week-to-week basis, may not know about what the Union are doing right now or who maybe Daniel Gazek is, but they have heard this story from one source or the other. And so we're going to talk about it today. We're going to get you guys up to date, and I want to get you guys well prepared of what's exactly going on. Before we move forward, guys, real quick, if you guys could hit that like button, subscribe for all of your Union and your Philly sports content here on PHLY Sports. And with that, let's get going. So this all started off here this morning, right before we go live for the Anthony Gargano show. You get the snippet, the teaser, right? You have Cavan Sullivan walking down the tunnel, walking down those stairs of that tunnel, and then the hoodie gets undone. You see the blonde hair, and our social media guy, Chris, sends me that video, and I'm like, all right, they're announcing Cavan Sullivan here today, because who else would have blonde hair like that? I know Marco Royce, that rumor's been circling around the soccer world, but not yet. I'm not counting that one out just yet, but not right now. But Cavan Sullivan becomes a member of the Philadelphia Union, and if you guys think that last name is familiar, that's because his older brother Quinn who plays with the senior team right now, is having an excellent season so far with the Union. Now he gets to play with his younger brother. But Cavan Sullivan, 14 years old. He is a youth academy product here in YSC. Joined the youth academy at 10 years old. But obviously, he becomes the youngest signing in club history, probably the youngest signing in MLS history. Obviously, Freddie Du's a little bit of a different situation. So he got drafted. I don't know if you would consider. I guess you would consider that a signing. But we have to look at the actual date of when he got signed. But Cavan Sullivan, obviously one of the youngest, if not the youngest, MLS signing ever. But yeah, so Cavan, over the past couple years, has really caught a lot of eyes from his play with the youth teams and different international tournaments for youth teams. He's won a couple golden boots as well with the youth teams too. And so you see highlights, you hear it from everybody, and now hopefully we get to see more. So Cavan is a midfielder. Now, it's kind of tough when you're talking about young kids because there's still room for improvement. These kids, when you hear a position, typically it's not always set in stone, but from what you can see is that Cavan's got a knack of creativity. That's where you could see him fitting perfectly as a 10. He's just like his brother. He could play as a winger, but I think with that creativity, you want him somewhere centrally to kind of create as that wizard in the middle. But obviously, through these next couple of years, we'll find out. And obviously, as we all know, right now, this Union-style soccer really doesn't call for wingers when you have wing backs who come up high up to the pitch from those fullback positions. So wingers really aren't something that you're really going to need. But he's 5'7", 150 pounds. Again, 14 years old, born in 2009, September 28th. So on September 28th this year, he'll turn 15 years old. Born in Philadelphia here. He is from Norristown. Shouts to all my Norristown people out there. He is from the Norristown area. But that is who Cavan Sullivan is here. But listen, this is a pretty big deal, guys. Like I mentioned, he's one of the youngest players, if not the youngest player, to sign an MLS deal here. And it's it's a big deal when you got NBC Sports Philadelphia covering this story. I've always learned that. if NBC Philly is talking soccer, putting up Union content, it's a big deal. And they put out some Union content here today with the Cavan Sullivan signing there. But obviously, we talked about it. Manchester City, that's the big one too. And he kind of alluded to it. It's everyone's dream as a kid to play for Manchester City. I don't know if I agree with that one per se, because I obviously, when I was 14, we didn't get the Union just yet. I think the Union were announced when I was 15 years old, if I'm not mistaken. So I didn't get to live that one through, but I probably would have picked the Philadelphia Union. If not, at that time, America de Cali would have been my dream club. But that is a really big deal. I mean, the fact that Manchester City, if they're going to sign a young kid that is not from the UK, I mean, they're looking in Brazil, they're looking in Argentina, they're not looking in the United States, but that's what we're talking about here. And Ernst Tanner kind of alluded to it as well. I mean, Ernst is his whole entire career, even his time in Germany, being the athletic director for a Hoffenheim or for an all RB Salzburg, he has a knack for, or I should say, he has an eye for talent. And he even said himself, he's probably the third best young prospect he has seen in his life at four. And we're going to keep reiterating this because when you see him play, you're not going to believe he's 14 years old. And that's really the important part too here. Obviously, it's surprising to see how good he is at that age, but also it's important to remember that, yes, he is 14 years old. He's not 17. He's not 18. He's still 14. He's still a child. And so, I mean, I remember myself at 14 years old. My main concern was, yo, boys, we going to Blockbuster on Friday night? Like, what you trying to go to Wawa, get some snacks? Like, not, hey, I'm going to play for Manchester City in 4 years, right? Like that. This is absolutely wild stuff. Now, one thing I want to get clear out the way is I want to talk about some of the things that I have seen from the World Wide Web. And one of the main things that I have seen is the comparison to Freddie Adu, because for obvious reasons, wonder kid, 14 years old, the opportunity to play in Major League Soccer. But I think that these situations are completely different. Freddie Adu comes in an era where, honestly, the league was just throwing darts at the wall. We were trying to figure out how to grow the popularity. We didn't have a clear vision, a clear image of how to grow the league. So when a super kid comes along like this, and some of the clubs over in Europe are already trying to pull him away, the MLS had to make a decision. For Christ's sakes, Freddie Adu was on cover Sports Illustrated. That should just tell you everything. And I've talked about it before in previous outlets. I thought the Freddie Adu situation was just a great learning experience for the league and for this country as a whole. I think that him staying in this country, him joining a league that really didn't have the proper infrastructure for a young kid like that with that talent was one of the downfalls. And he probably should have gone over to Europe. And he tells you now at this older age, well, he probably should have done differently. And I think that is why this Cavan Sullivan situation is a little bit different than Freddie Adu, because I think that now we know what the proper way to develop these young kids, even with the talent of a Cavan Sullivan. You heard during the press conference, and now happened at 12 o'clock here today, Eastern time on Thursday afternoon. You hear Jim kind of talking about it, kind of setting the groundwork of how they're going to build Cavan out for these next 4 years. And it's really quite simple. It's just making it an environment to thrive and to succeed. And just remembering that, Freddie Adu, when he went to go play for DC United as a rookie in the league, he was expected to be the savior of not only that club, but for the league as a whole. Cavan's not coming in here trying to be the savior of the Union. He's not coming here to be the savior of this league. We have Messi for that, right? It's a different time. He's coming in here to continue his growth, to do what Mark McKenzie, what Brennan Aronson, what Paxton Aronson has done. And by the way, we're getting all the good soccer siblings in the United States here, which is freaking awesome, as Quinn is with the senior team as well. But Cavan's job is simply just to improve upon his game day in and day out. And if he helps the Union win in these 4 years, that is the cherry on top of your sundae, ladies and gentlemen. But it's important to remember that this situation is unique in its own right. And we're going to watch and see how this continues. And continuing off of that note, He comes from this youth academy. He's been here since what? We're in 2024. Since 2020, he's been part of this academy. And now that he signed on here with the U, that's huge for this academy. This academy has such a high name in the soccer world worldwide. People in Europe know about the Philadelphia Union Youth Academy. They know about the YSC. All right. And now that you're able to have this product here, and if Cavan's able to thrive here in Philly for these 4 years, and then go on to have a great career in Manchester City. And oh, by the way, if he gets a couple call-ups by the U.S. men's national team and balls out with that, guys, this is only going to help the youth academy. And now this leads into my next point, because another big thing that I saw from the fan base here today was that this is what we're going to do, bro. We're going to sign young kids and expect them to win for us. Oh, and then we're going to sell them for in the next couple of years. Dude, what are we doing here? All right. I see that. I see it all, guys. I see it all. All right. Listen, it's important to remember that what the Union do is not the wrong thing, right? The infrastructure of how we built this team to where it's at today, there's nothing wrong with that. I love the fact that we build from within. I love the fact that we have one of the most revered youth academies in the world. Let's throw that out there, in the world. And the way we're going to build this Union team is through that youth academy, to be able to get those kids from YSC to Union 2 to the Union senior squad, okay? Build a team that way. And then, yes, whatever holes you have, that's where the international or the domestic market's for, right? Now, my concern and my discrepancy is that we're relying too much on that youth academy. Right now, what I think this team needs is honestly a Cavan Sullivan, but 6 to 8 years older, okay? Right now, what I feel this team needs is a killer. And what I mean by killer is the mindset, that killer mindset, that even if you play 90, 60, 30 minutes, you're an absolute threat on that pitch, and the possibility of a goal is there, okay? I know this attack. I know how good it could be, but this attack has not been good enough to win a championship, to win that hardware, an MLS Cup, a CONCACAF Champions Cup. We have not been that good yet, all right? And that's where I think that, look, I love Gazak. I love Carranza. I have a love-hate relationship with him, but I think it could be better. And if you watch PHLY Union, first off, thank you so much for tuning in on a week-to-week basis, but we talk about this all the time. Consistency is absolutely key, right? And these guys the Union team has ran it back for 3 years, essentially. This has been the same lineup for 3 years. And yeah, there's a lot of familiarity, not only for this club, but the outside. The other clubs in the MLS knows what to expect when it comes to the Union. So that's like a separate topic, though. Like, this Cavan Sullivan situation really shouldn't change anything with what this team needs to do. I still think that the plan, this upcoming summer transfer window, should still be the same. I don't think they're going to go through it. Like, I still think that you should go out there and find a European veteran piece that you can plug in, either in the mid as a 10, as a forward, a depth piece who's going to score me them goals. Like I said, 90, 60, 30 minutes. I don't care what the role is. You're going to need depth as well. You ran into a good Pachuca side. They had depth and good young kids. So, like, I for the people who are upset about the Cavan Sullivan signing, that it's just a separate issue. You still need to do these type of things. And oh, by the way, 14-year-old wonder kids just don't pop up in your youth academy every day. All right. The other MLS youth academy love for the situation to happen to them. For Christ's sakes, like I just said, NBC Sports Philly was covering this bad boy. Apple News. I saw Matt Ralph tweeting it from Philadelphia Soccer Now. Apple News is talking about Cavan Sullivan. Like, this move is humongous, guys. It's absolutely big. Now, do I expect him to start right away? No. Do I expect him to even be on the bench? No. Do I expect him to be on the 18? No. I don't expect him from day one to be. It's like this upcoming Saturday, you will be hosting Orlando City, which, by the way, stay tuned for the preview show here on PHLY Union. I don't expect him to be in the 18. I don't. I think the plan right now is to continue his development. He will see some more time with Union too, just like you see like Marcus Anderson putting in the time with both teams. You see Makahanya doing that. I'm trying to think. Sanders and Gabo's doing that as well. Going back and forth, right? And listen, guys, if he plays the next month of Union 2 and he's just destroying the competition, looks like he's exceeded that level. Yeah, he might get called. He might get some call-ups here and be on the 18. But even if you look at, like I just said earlier on in this video, his position is more so in the midfield, in the attacking portion of that midfield, like as a 10. Obviously, we don't run wingers here, but I think it's a bring up Brandon Aronson because, by the way, that was probably the last one. Like, they are also built similarly as well. Like, Brandon now is a little bit older, but Brandon, when he came up, like, he was 18. And I always bring up the story about, going into 2019, I'm like, Derek Jones got that left shuttle position locked up. There's no way. Then here comes this Brendan Aronson. I was like, who the hell is Brendan Aronson? And look at him now. But it's funny because, like, Brendan was a scrawny little kid at the time, too. I think Cavan, if he's going to play somehow this year, he's going to be used as a shuttler. But the problem is, like, where? Maybe on that right shuttle. But, Renee and I, on a week-to-week basis, we talk about this midfield and the depth, and it's pretty prevalent. I mean, Jack and Quinn are pretty locked up both shuttle positions. Leon Flock has finally come back from injury, which is humongous, especially for that transition defense. Alejandro Bedoya on that right-hand side has become more of a depth piece. He's kind of been the backup at that right shuttle midfielder. And you still have Jesus Bueno, who last year got a lot of play, and this year, just because of competition, he's kind of gotten phased out a little bit. And then I guess you would, that's when you would look at a Cavan Sullivan. But, he's got to try to beat out all those players, including his brother. So I genuinely just don't know how much of the field he's going to see this year. We'll see how, we'll see how they handle Leagues Cup this year. I'm intrigued to see how they will handle Leagues Cup. Maybe that may be a time you will see him. But for right now, I just would not expect Cavan Sullivan to get much playing time there. So that's the breaking news here. The Philadelphia Union finally signed Cavan Sullivan to the first team at 14 years old. This is an historical day. And look, if 5 years down the line, we're talking 2029, and he gets phased out of, because listen, it's easy to get phased out of Manchester City. A club like Manchester City, it is possible. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it is possible. And he does get phased out, and he comes back to MLS or whatnot, or goes to like a lower level European team. Then so be it. But there's no denying how big of a moment this is here for the Union and for Cavan as himself and for his family. It's really cool, and it's really crazy to kind of think about. But that's kind of where we're at. It was cool to see him with his family taking pics and just kind of hearing him out and getting to know him a little bit. It's clear he loves soccer. He eats, breathes it. His dad has got a soccer academy here in the Philly area, so he's a Philly soccer kid through and through. And this is what we're trying to build. We're trying to continue this future, and we're hoping that stories like the Sullivan family can inspire this area. And hopefully we could become a hotbed for soccer too. Obviously, this is a great area for football, for basketball, heck, for pitching. There's a lot of good pitchers in Major League Baseball right now from this area. So hopefully that we can become a European pipeline, or maybe an MLS pipeline for soccer players. So we shall see. Guys, stay tuned. We're going to have a preview show here today. We're going to look at Orlando City versus Union on Saturday night. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that one. But that's going to do it for this Emergency Pod edition. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning on in. Make sure you guys hit the like button and subscribe to PHLY Sports and PHLY Union. Until next time, I go by the name JP Zapata. Dupe on, Philly.
like the mayor.